Hey y'all, welcome to For the Fans, where tonight we are so excited to talk about that wonderful premiere of Survivor 45 where nothing out of the ordinary happened. We totally didn't see someone quit earlier than ever in the history of the show. No big deal, but I am excited to talk about this group of people because there are some interesting castaways. And so it's going to be fun to talk about this new group and how we see this all shaken down. So, Kevin, what
Hey,
you thinking?
has no one ever quit on the first episode?
I don't think so. I think they said that this is the earliest quit ever.
I feel like, Fair Play kind of quit. He was medevac, but I think
Yeah,
he kind of quit.
yeah, kind of.
Uh,
I don't know
this
if it's
is
officially listed.
right. She was voted out.
She
You
wasn't.
know, she was. Everybody raised their hand and voted her out, but uh, um, and then she happened to not cast a vote for anyone else either. But it's
Yeah, it was
uh,
interesting, and I've gotten to listen to quite a few of her exit press today, and
okay.
I listened to the On Fire podcast, and so lots of interesting little tidbits that we're going to get into.
Listen, before we get into anything, On Fire with Jeff Probst, I thought it was hilarious that when Jeff came on, he said, "Let me get a second to talk directly to Adam Klein and tell him how I feel about it."
I mean, he did a direct call out without the directly
Yeah,
saying his name, but
right.
yeah,
He said there's
put
some
put Adam
Survivor
Klein on blast a
players
bit.
that have a coaching thing that they're making money off of. You don't need that, even though we have three of their guys here. But we knew
And we've
about
had
their three of
multiple
their guys.
people on all of the last few seasons, so they've obviously kind of cracked the code. I mean, I can appreciate the sentiment a little bit, like, if you just do not have it at all, you're not you're not ever gonna be casted.
No
It
amount
doesn't
of
matter.
coaching is going to help.
Right.
If you play sports, right, and someone if you're a running back, if you hire a running backs coach and you already have the talent, it's just going to help make you better. But
Exactly.
if me or you hired a running backs coach, it's not going to change much for us because
No.
we're still not going to be a running back.
Right. That's literally the perfect little analogy there, because if you've got what it takes, I think Adam does have some advice that he can offer up, and he's
Yes.
obviously successful because he has had, I think, at least a couple people on every single season since he has started his little coaching business.
Yeah.
So, I don't know, but
I
let's
I just well, I had to lead off with that because I don't think we're going to come back to it, but I thought that was just the
Yeah,
funniest
yeah,
thing.
we'll definitely be talking about On Fire and some things that were said,
Yeah,
especially, a twist that we did not get to see,
we'll talk about that
but,
too. But just having Jeff like immediately come on and
yeah.
like that was on fire with Jeff Probst. Rick Devins is one of the guests
Yeah,
on
it was,
there.
like, sort of on fire with Jeff Probst,
It was on fire with Rick
like, with
Devins.
Cameo by Jeff Probst.
Yeah, and the moment Jeff comes on, he's like, "Before I get into answering your question, Rick, I want to say." Then he
And, I mean,
goes,
he's way more pissed at Adam Klein for having a business than he was at Hannah for quitting, but okay.
"Yeah, exactly."
So, the way we're going to do this tonight is we are going to talk about the little bit of the marooning, and then we will talk about the sweat and savvy challenge, and then we'll kind of hit on the dynamics of each tribe, and then the challenge after the challenge and tribal council, just
So
to kind of
before we
give you
do
an
that,
overview.
Kylie, before we do that, I have a question. Are we going to talk more about the Red Tribe than they did?
Not much because Kevin, you and I haven't gotten to talk about the season yet, so we can talk about them a little bit. But yeah, I'm going to be excited in the next 90-minute episode to actually get to know the Red Tribe
We'll
and the Blue
see.
Tribe
We'll
and the
see.
Blue Tribe.
90 minutes. We
Both.
still couldn't like go see every tribe.
Yeah, 90
We
minutes. We got very little from the Red and Blue tribes, and he cut out a twist that, no, it did not impact the game, but it's still funny. Like, 90 minutes is still not enough.
but
But
we got ample amount of time for the challenge and two of the sweat and savvy. So
Yeah, gotta fit in the important things. All right. So boat ride in. I'm not gonna lie, y'all. It is 45 seasons, and I still got chills last night. I was like, oh, this is so exciting. I just love the start of a new Survivor season.
hmm
I can't help
hmm
it. Even all
So
these
yeah,
years.
when a new Survivor season starts, I like the way they shoot it. You see the emotion, you feel the emotion, especially in this new era. So you see more and more people that are just like stoked to be here. So
Mhm.
that's always fun. And so we
Yeah.
see it right here, right off the bat.
Yeah. All right. So once they get onto the boat, immediately Jeff is like, "You in the yellow. What's your name?" "Brandon."
Crying, tears, just overcome with emotion. Just couldn't help himself because the man has been wanting to be here for all since he was 11 years old. He said, since I was 11 years old, I've wanted to play this game, and here I am. Tears, crying, everything.
Look, I'm trying to get A, the hair out of my mouth, and then B, I'm trying not to just say so many bad things about him, but I don't know if I have ever had a castaway annoy me more in the first episode than Brandon annoyed me in this one.
Brandon was more annoying than one of his tribe mates to you.
Yes, absolutely.
I don't understand it.
Yeah,
We're gonna well,
we're gonna clash. That's great. That's what everybody's here for. They can expect it. Yeah, no, I cannot handle the crying. I cannot
the
handle
man.
it.
Well, the man.
And he
Listen, what it
cried
is.
on hold on, Kevin. He cried on 5 separate occasions in a 90-minute episode.
He's
That's
just
bananas.
so
Get your
overwhelmed
shit
by
together.
emotion.
I don't
But
care.
he can't though. He
I'll
wants
give
this
you the
bad.
crying like, okay, great. He was overwhelmed with emotions whenever, he's officially on the mat and they're getting ready to start the
Mhm.
game. Okay, I'll give you that one. But the other 4,
Listen, you can't listen. I know you're a
it's
hard
annoying.
Texan, and I know men down there don't show emotion, and they're just
Don't cry like
real,
little b most of
real.
the men I associate with don't cry like little bitches. I
But
will say
Brandon is just a man that's in touch with his feelings, and there's nothing wrong with that.
no, there's nothing wrong with that, but then at a certain point in time, get it under control. You have to.
So within the first 2 days, the man's just overcome with them, feeling everything for the first time. I'm
Look,
not mad
if
at
he
it.
doesn't, maybe I'm gonna change my opinion on him next episode if he does not cry through the whole thing, but I absolutely cannot handle him crying through another episode and making it through. So, like, if he's gonna cry all of next episode, I'm gonna need them to vote him off, and if they don't, I don't know if I can handle that. I can't.
Listen, if I
That
could
is
watch a whole season with Carolyn, you could watch a whole season of this man
no.
crying.
Carolyn didn't cry through the whole
I
thing.
know I was annoyed
My
by her though every
gosh.
episode. So if I could watch a whole season of her, then you could watch a whole season of this man crying.
Alright, so moving on. Jeff says, "Well, let's also just go ahead and address the other big thing. We see a familiar face, and it is drunk, crazy Uncle Bruce."
Bruce. I was like, that's a lot different than the Bruce that we saw last time. He's
He's bringing a lot of different energy, which I am actually excited about from him because I don't think I was super high on him, Bruce 1.0, but listening to his press and everything, I was like, okay, you can see why they wanted this guy to have his fair
to come
shot.
back. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it was interesting because I thought this was quite the departure from his first 12 hours. And so like we have to I guess maybe this is who he really is, but I was like, this is way different than I expected. But let's see how this goes. Let's
Yeah.
go down this
It's
together.
it's interesting. Lots of people had a lot of positive things or positive reactions towards seeing him at Ponderosa. And so I was like, okay, I feel like Bruce is well set up. And then the little bit that we didn't get to spend with the Blue Tribe, I'm like, ooh, he may be okay for a little bit, but I don't feel as great about Bruce's long-term game as I initially did.
Mm-hmm.
But we also just got a just a small little nugget
Smidgen.
there to chew on. But Bruce gives his little speech of, "Hey guys, even though I'm going to say it later, I am not a celebrity. I'm just like y'all. I don't have any more experience than you do. We're all on the same boat together." And Emily's like,
I beg to differ.
"I beg to differ." Okay, so let's just get it out in the open. An I am a fan of the casting decision for Emily. Do I think Emily is a good Survivor player? Unequivocally, no.
Okay.
She's not. However, we have had 4 seasons where everything has been, we're so excited to play and we're all super fans, and we don't have recruits anymore, which is great. I think it's awesome that there are 18 people that genuinely love and care about this game that are getting to play. 17 and a half. Okay.
18.
But everyone has been so, "Oh, God, this is so hard. I don't want to have to vote off this person." We've seen very few people that have had that cutthroatness to them. And to have somebody that I feel like is a complete throwback to an earlier archetype of, as we learned from her pregame press, she scores basically exactly the same as Chaos Cass in her psych
Mental
evals.
eval. Yeah.
And
Now,
I'm like, this is great. I like a player like a Cass and like an Abby Maria, a Jatia, like we want these people that are dynamic.
so
And
I think this is where where we differ, right? Because when I think of Kaz, Jatia, Abby, I enjoyed watching the three of them on their tribes, especially watching Kaz and Jatia be on the same tribe, which was hilarious. Because you don't see all of who Cass is until after Jatia's gone, because Cass is like, can't be her, but I am her.
right, only one crazy can shine at a time.
Exactly. And so I loved them. I did not like Emily here though. Because and I don't mind the Bruce interaction. It
I
was
mean, I
the
was talking
continued negativity.
She is the definition of a pessimist.
Yes.
And Caleb describes it perfectly when he says she is the type of person that says, "This is why this isn't going to work," but doesn't offer any
Has
solution.
no solutions on how to fix it. And
And,
I'm a
you know,
fixer. And so
yeah,
it's like, okay, cool. This doesn't work. What else do you want to do? Well, not this. Cool. What do you want to do? We got to figure it out. So you have nothing then.
yeah,
Cool.
no.
Like I
And
don't like
so
those people.
that's fine. I'm not saying that I like Emily necessarily even. I'm saying that I like the casting choice.
But like when you
I
from
like
like
to
a
see somebody that is isn't just, "Okay, this person
having
is cut
someone
out for this
different,
game."
yeah, having someone different is fine. But like a Cass specifically, right? They have the same psych eval. Cass has her own way of what she wants to do, and Cass is like a "it's my way" or the highway type of person. Whereas you're right, this girl has like no alternatives, which is one of the reasons why I liked Cass, because Cass was chaos, and she's like, "I'm gonna do it. We should do it this way." And it's like, the rest of us don't want to do it that way, but Cass is like, "But this is the right way." Whereas in this situation, we don't get that with her. You know what I'm saying? And that's the hard part.
Yeah, it's interesting. I had lots of talks with different people about her. One specifically that you said is, well, she's a complainer. And I watched the episode twice, and she's not a complainer. She is just very negative. And another conversation I had with someone, I said that she reminds me of the SNL character Debbie Downer.
Yes. Okay, that's a good one. Yes, she is basically
Yes.
Debbie Downer.
She's
And then
Debbie
she needs to
Downer.
look at the camera. Wonk, wonk.
Yeah. That's it. She is the real life version of that. And
Yes.
she realizes who she is and she knows her shortcomings. She is not willing to change them, however. So I'm interested to see what's going to happen. But for the most part, I enjoyed the things that she said from a viewer standpoint. It was entertaining. I agree with her completely on her assessment of Bruce. he does have a leg up because he has been through it. And even though he didn't get to stay for very
Yeah.
long, he's been
He
on the
had this
backside
part.
of it too.
He had this part. He saw what happens after. He's
Right.
been through the experience. And I'm with you. I'm with you and her on
Yeah.
that. Right.
Terrible thing to say, but God bless
He,
her. God
well,
bless her.
the thing was, like, even if she says it right, the terrible delivery. Because when
It
Bruce
was
says,
so great. It wasn't a
no, no,
terrible
no, no, no,
delivery.
no, no, no,
It
no. I
was
mean,
for
for like
her.
as a player, because it's like I'll raise my hand and be like, I mean, he is. You have kind of seen like this part though, and
Yeah.
that's how like I would have said instead of saying like you had this marked advantage, blah blah blah. I would have just been like, you kind of seen this part though, right?
Yeah.
Like, and
She's
then they'd be
she's
like, yeah,
your internal thoughts walking around on the beach.
yeah,
She really is.
yeah, and like, but like the most crass of your brain thoughts
Yeah.
out loud.
Yeah, the things that, you have that little voice in your head that says, "I should say this, but I'm not going to."
Right.
She doesn't have that. Um, but I think Bruce handles it really, really well, and he's
Yeah.
like, "Oh, I knew that there might be some people that felt like that, but, he rolled with it." And so I thought he handled it as well as you can. But it is time to kick off the first little challenge. We got to play for some Flint, y'all. And this is an interesting one because we're going to get to see some crazy shit happen right here, right off the bat.
So before we get into it, I don't know. We take this challenge in 3 stages, right? I don't know why we don't get more often like we did in the season with Drea and High, where there's like one of the stages has like a choice to make.
Mhm.
Like I felt like that was such a great aspect, and now we're in the 5th season of the new era, and that was the only season that had something like that, unless the other ones do and we don't see it.
Right. I mean, I think this one's unique in that you're never out of eye shot of anybody. So um, there's not really an opportunity to
Correct. There's
do
not to
that.
do anything, but I feel like they should
Right.
always have one where it's
But,
out
I
of
mean,
eye.
throw something in with all of those sandbags that the first set are doing where, "Oh, hey, look, while I'm unloading these sandbags, I find this and I slip it into my pocket."
Yeah,
That would've
something
been a
fun
great
like that.
opportunity. Yeah, that would've been really cool. Make notes, Jeff Probst. Alright, so 3-stage challenge, like you said, they have to empty the crate of the sandbags and the ropes. They tag out to the next partners. They have to jump overboard, swim out to the boat, and then row back. Once they are back on board, the final 2 tag in and they get to use the big long stick to get their flint down. So, all right, we are going to kick it off and time to move some heavy stuff. Are you initially shocked when we see the Yellow Tribe putting up Sabaya as opposed to another man to go with Caleb?
No, because the guys you have a choice of are Brandon, Sean, and Caleb. Caleb's like, I'm gonna do it. Sean didn't speak to me as a strong male, and Brandon is already beside himself. He's already crying. He probably peed himself. There was just not another chance. Sabia, she's military, so she's a strong woman. She's
Yeah,
military.
so I don't exactly know what they were thinking when they sat down and made these tribes because this is an obvious disparity. And we have talked ad nauseum how much brute strength matters in these early challenges. And I am all for women doing anything that they can do because Sabaya killed it. I mean,
It is
spoiler
Sabaya or
alert,
Sabia.
Sabaya. And she holds her own more than in the Sweat versus Savvy challenge coming up. But I'm just like, they could not have honestly expected Sabaya to be able to go head to head with, a Sifu and an Austin duo, or a Bruce and Jake. You know what I mean? Like she's not a man.
But maybe she's not a strong swimmer, right? Because you see that it's in 3 stages. I'm sure you hear what all 3 stages are before you strategize.
Right.
If the strategy is to take them out the crate and throw them to the person, Brandon can do that part, right? Caleb jumps in,
I don't know if he
throws it out.
can.
He would have to. So that's why.
I mean, that's just what I'm getting at. I'm shocked that Caleb did not take the other male.
I'm
Not
sure
Caleb,
Brandon's
sorry,
probably like,
Brandon.
I'm a good swimmer, so I want to do that. And he swam pretty well. They got there quickly.
Yeah.
One thing that I was impressed by is the amazing amount of dives everyone did getting off the
There were
boat. It's
some
like they had
really
all
good
in
dives. Sean's
right,
was the most impressive.
boom, hit the
I was like,
water
"That's
out
beautiful." Look,
there.
I have a pool and I don't dive like that, okay? And I was sitting there thinking it would never apply for Survivor, so completely hypothetical, but I was like, if I was ever out there, I would have to practice diving because I would want to be able to dive like that.
Because there was some beautiful dives. So I'm sure when they
Yeah.
were doing it, it got there because Brandon's like, I'm a good swimmer, and Sean's like, I'm a strong swimmer as well. So then that's how we get to Sabaya, or Sabia,
Bye.
Sabaya, and Caleb doing that challenge. I think.
Yeah. I mean, it was an interesting call, but pretty much they maybe are a little bit behind, but pretty much all 3 teams kinda neck and neck.
Yeah,
They
the
all
swim
hit
changed the difference.
Yeah, they all hit the water, and we actually see the Lululemon Yellow Tribe making it back to the boat first, and disaster strikes.
Yeah, so they get back to the boat. They take the boat back to the main boat, and they have to climb this like rope ladder. And I was very confused because Brandon gets out. He tries to climb the ladder, doesn't, can't pull himself up because he's exhausted already. Because all the
Not
emotion
just
is just.
exhausted, but he is having a full-on anxiety
I
attack.
but I don't feel like he had the anxiety attack. I didn't feel like it started until he fell off the rope ladder. And then he was like, oh my God, I'm on Survivor. I'm off the rope ladder. We're behind. Blah, like all of the things, the emotion came over him the moment he fell down into the water because he's like paralyzed in fear. And then Sean's like, what do you want me to do? And then after what seemed like an extended period of time, Sean then decides to climb the ladder himself, which I thought was an interesting choice to not have done that like immediately.
Well, I mean, I think he was like, "Okay, go up the ladder."
Climb up, climb up out
Go.
the water. Go. Like, what are you
And
doing? Climb.
and and this is an interesting point that I think I saw on Twitter that someone said he was Brandon was the only person, which he did not originally attempt this, but from the second shot, he was the only one that was attempting to climb out of the water. Everybody else climbed out of the boat, which
Yeah.
he did try that the first time and he fell. But then the rest of his attempts, he was going from the water onto the rope ladder, and that might have been exponentially harder.
Well, and he also had shoes on, which
And
also
and
probably
pants.
weighed him down, and pants, which also weighed him down.
And I mean, he had said that he lost a significant amount of weight. So I don't know to what fitness level he is at either. I would attempt that it's fair to say not good.
I
So,
would assume also that he doesn't have the upper body strength.
right.
If he lost a considerable amount of weight and he's at the level that he's at now, he's still a bigger guy.
Yeah.
As a bigger guy myself, I know that I'm not doing pull-ups, right?
Right.
I know that first and foremost. So if I'm being weighed down by wet jeans and wet shoes, and I'm trying to pull myself against all of this out the water and then climb up this rope ladder, it's probably not happening for your boy. So I get that the paralyzed, like it didn't even seem like he was attempting though. And that
No.
was the thing that was interesting.
Yeah, it was interesting, and so Sean climbs overboard, and he goes and stands on the mat like, "Okay, well, he's gonna get it." And then after, Red climbs up, Blue climbs up, he's like, "Let me go help him."
Yeah.
And so, you've got 90-pound soaking wet Sean attempting to pull this man up a rope ladder that can't pull himself up. And
Mm-hmm.
so, somehow they do manage to get him to get a leg hooked onto the rung, and then from there, he is able to belly flop onto the boat
And then
and
crawl.
crawl to the mat, and, um, the other two tribes are already working on getting their flint. They've got these super tall people going, and Yellow had by far the best strategy, and they damn near made a comeback
Yeah.
because we saw Emily, instead of hitting the bags and spinning them, she was just pushing the little ring, and she was making quick work. Like when the red bag dropped, they were right there with their bag fixing to drop. And
It
so
was amazing that they were able to catch up as much as they did, because that means if Brandon just climbs up 2 minutes faster,
oh yeah, they would
they
have won. Not
win the
even 2 minutes,
challenge.
probably 1. Like,
Yeah.
it was that close, honestly, but, the Red Reba tribe ends up getting the victory.
Reba,
Reba.
Reba, Reba,
Yes,
Reba,
go Seafood, go.
Reba,
Go Seafood.
Reba, Reba.
Yeah, I'm excited to talk about him. But they get the victory, more of a moral victory than anything, because now the other two tribes are both going to be sending 2 people to compete in Sweat versus Savvy. We've seen this the past 4 seasons, so they're like, okay, we know what to expect here. The Lulu tribe decides to send Sabaya and Caleb, and the Baloo tribe, which I can't even, Bello, decides to send Jake and Brando. And so they're obviously playing up like, okay, we're going to send somebody that is a little bit stronger, and we're going to send somebody that is probably more on the savvy side. Not saying that Jake, the lawyer, is an idiot, but
And the same can be said about Sabaya and Caleb. It's like, okay, we're going to send someone that has the strength, but they also seem to both have the savvy. So we're going to be able to utilize their strengths to get this done, because both of them volunteer. And this is where I really started to take a disliking to Emily, because no one else raised their hand. No one else said we should go. You have to, 2 people have to go. So when we get back to the camp and Emily's like, real odd that they volunteered, you did not volunteer. Someone has to go.
But once again, she says what everybody's thinking. If we've seen this before, we've seen
I
it.
don't think everyone was thinking this.
They are. Everybody's thinking this.
No,
If
they
they
weren't.
come back with nothing, are we just going to take them at their word that they just didn't complete it? Because all the other versions of Sweat versus Savvy, they got to witness. And this is the first one that is out of shot. So,
But even with that being the case, they didn't have advantages at these things before.
no, not at Sweat versus Savvy, but we have seen this before in other seasons of Survivor, where
Correct.
the
No,
people have
you're right.
gotten there and had to make a choice, and have sometimes chosen
Agreed.
something advantageous to themselves. So I would be thinking it, absolutely, because I am just like Emily in the paranoid side. I'd be like, yeah, if they come back with nothing, then they probably got something.
I would have never considered that until they came back with nothing. Because at this point, I would not be thinking about them coming back with nothing.
But the difference is I would not have vocalized it, but I would have
I wouldn't
been
have even thought it, though. And that's
I
why it
would.
was like awkward, because I'm not even considering them. Everyone has always succeeded in Sweat versus Savvy, right? I would have now not considered the fact that they would have possibly failed. And then when they came back after failing, I would have then been like, But the fact that the moment they get to the beach and she says, isn't it kind of weird that they like volunteered immediately? I would have been like, no, none of us volunteered. And 2 people had to go. Well, if they come back with nothing, do you think that they might have gotten something? Why would they come back with nothing? Because everyone's done this thing. That would have been my estimation.
Sure, but you don't think the same way that Emily thinks. So
apparently not.
Emily calls it out. She's like, they better come back with something, or we are not trusting them. All right, so let's talk about the Sweat versus Savvy challenge, and then we'll talk about each of the 3 tribes a little bit in detail. So for the Sweat, they get to the beach and they read the little card, and it says that we are no longer going to choose between sweat or savvy, you got to do both. And not only do you have to do both, you're doing both in competition with the other duo. And I'm like, ooh, I like this. Jeff
I
Probst said,
like that
you ain't
twist.
all winning. You're not all winning
Yeah,
this time.
I like this twist because with this twist, I mean, it's very similar to like how Big Brother is right now. They're like,
Mhm.
we're gonna do this puzzle. One of y'all is gonna work. Only
Yeah.
one. And it gonna work for both y'all.
Yeah.
And that's kind of, and I like this twist because by doing this twist, you get a definite loser. Um, yeah, 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 yeah. You get a definite loser. They both can't be winners. But like now that you're going head to head, you're watching them next to you do this same thing, and you're like,
Mhm.
gotta keep pace, gotta keep pace.
Yeah,
And I,
and this is where we see Sabaya, like, first of all, we get a little bit background on her, which before talking about Sabaya specifically, I love that we did not get everybody's sob story flashback mementos to home. Once again, like, I'm kind of over that. If we get an occasional one, that's fine. We don't need all 18. And so I like that we don't really have that, but we do get to learn a little bit about Sabaya in that, she has been in the military and she's used to doing hard things, and she's, has her dad's voice in her mind telling her, you can do this, keep pushing. And I was like, okay. Sabaya was somebody I was extremely high on in the preseason, and I loved pretty much everything we got from Sabaya last night too.
Sabaya really popped here because you learn, like you said, her backstory and why she's out here doing this, especially with Caleb, because like you said earlier, very interesting that they had a female out there doing it, whereas they normally do not.
Yeah.
But it's because Sabaya's used to being with the guys. Like that's just kind of
Yeah.
how she is. And she's able to really dig deep and utilize that as a motivational piece for her as she continues to push through, as she had to carry these heavy logs from one end of the beach to the other area before having to solve a puzzle that they have to all do.
Yeah. So we do see Caleb and Sabaya finish first, and they get a little bit of a head start on the puzzle. Then Brando and Jake get there,
Before
and
we get into that a little deeply, though, when Jake and Brando are doing it, it looked like they were going to have an advantage because they're taking one log at a time each. And then you realize immediately that Brando's actually the one holding them back. And
yeah,
he's making them fall behind a bit. Well,
yeah,
even at one point, they're both taking the log, and Brando has to take a break, and then Josh just picks it up. And or Jake, what's his name?
yeah,
Jacob?
Jake,
Jacob just picks it up and just goes on his own. He's
yeah.
like,
I got yours too. Okay. Yeah, so we see all four of them working on the puzzle at the same time. They do not really give us any close-up glimpses of this puzzle. I think if you are going to play Survivor 45, I would just go on and mark this down on your list. This will be seen again. We already know that they like to reuse puzzles, and one that they don't give you the solution to, we're damn sure going to see again. So if you are on Survivor 45, just go ahead and figure out how to get this little contraption rigged up.
what did you think of them giving them a timer, an hour or whatever the sand
Yeah,
timer
I don't know
was,
what it was. Yeah.
amount of time for them both to get both of them done and still also be competing against each other?
I loved it.
Okay.
I mean, you want to make shit hard? Let's do it. So I'm here for it.
It's I don't know that I loved it. I love the fact that it's a head to head, but them also racing against the clock after having to do such a physically taxing role. I think
Sucks
what
to
they
suck. That's what Jeff
I
said.
think
Sucks to suck.
I think it would have been better if you allowed them to choose. Like you could do either one. Both these things need to be done in said time. I like them having the choice, especially because if you're doing the puzzle and the other ones are doing the logs, you can finish the puzzle, uh, get it done,
Yeah.
then go and do the logs after and try to make up the time on the physical portion instead of like just getting to the brain part and not knowing what you're doing at all. Or you took too
Yeah.
long on the
Yeah,
brain
that's
part.
an interesting twist that they could do, in a future season where, hey, you have to complete both of these. It's your choice which one. Or
Yeah.
even just automatically assigning them different.
Or even better, just there's two things you guys got to get done however you want to do it. If one of them thinks I'm going to start on the logs while I work on this puzzle, that's
Oh,
also
yeah.
great
That's a good idea too.
because there's two of you here.
Yeah.
And because it allows you to have more variance while also not being able to keep track of who's in the lead, while
Mhm.
also trying to figure out once, like, let's say Brando and Jacob split up. Jacob starts doing the logs. Brando's just looking at this thing confused, and then Jacob's like, "How are you doing on that puzzle?" Got nowhere. Well, then come help me with these logs, or I'm gonna come
Yeah,
help with the
switch.
puzzle. Yeah,
Tag team
and
in.
you don't know where everyone's at, but they both need to be done before. I wish they did something like
Yeah,
that.
that's fun. I like that. All right, but we see both duos fail and they have to go back to the beach and break the news. So let's talk about the Blue Bellow tribe and kind of knock out what we see from them this episode. So to recap, the Blue Bellow tribe has Jake, the attorney from Boston, Brando, the smart kid from I don't know where. Then who is their other guy that they have?
uh they have what's his face, the Bruce.
And Bruce. Yeah. All right. And then for their girls, they have a very unfortunate grouping of the 3Ks, and that is Katora, Kelly, and Kendra. And so when Jake and Brando get back to the beach, they're like, nobody got it. We are so sorry. And they handle it pretty well, I think.
Before they get back to the beach, though, we get the four of them at the beach trying to figure out, you know, what to do to begin with. First off, Bruce is like, "Don't think I'm being Papa Bruce. I'm crazy Uncle Bruce.
Drunk Uncle
I'm
Bruce.
drunk Uncle Bruce." And I'm like, "All right, whatever about this dude." And then you get drunk Uncle Bruce being like, "I don't want to be in charge, but what you guys are doing is wrong. So let me tell you exactly how to do it because I've been here before for 12 years."
Yeah, and I mean, I think this is a role where I do think Bruce got to help a little bit in the assembling of their shelter the first time. I don't know how much he actually remembers because he was concussed.
Yeah,
But he's like, palm fronds, wasting time. Don't do that.
I did think that was interesting because I don't know when we've ever seen anyone really use the palm fronds. I don't know what really they're for. Um,
Well, I think they usually say that they're they I think they just usually, unless you're Mike Gabler, they usually put them on top of the roof to help with rain and stuff. But Stephen Fishback today was like, finally, somebody said the truth. Weaving palm fronds is a waste of time.
yeah, I don't
And
know what they use
so,
them for.
but I've not heard anybody ever say that before. I
Well,
mean,
because
you just
everybody out
see
there
it
knew,
happen.
everybody's new, but like it's a time waster, something to do when you're not doing nothing else. So maybe they do weave palm fronds later, but it's not
Right.
important in the
Right, but
initial
let's get
setup.
some bamboo and let's start getting the
Mm-hmm.
material for our shelter. And but Bruce is also given advice about the fire, and these are all good things. But like Kendra so well points out, you don't want to be in control, but you do.
I'm not in charge, but if it were me, this is exactly how I would do it. So this is how we should do
And that's what we're gonna do. Yeah.
it. Yeah.
So but we do see these three women kind of initially hit it off, and they're
Well, this
out.
is such a bonding moment because when Bruce is doing this, the three of them can look at each other and snicker and chuckle. And
Mhm.
and one of the things that bonds people is like making fun of somebody else.
Yeah.
And it's a quick bonding agent for the three of them.
Yeah. And so we see the three girls, Katora, Kelly, and Kendra talking. And, how old are you? Well, I'm 29. Isn't that what they said?
I'm
And
also 29.
I made a little note here, and I don't have my notes from the cast assessment. I am pretty sure Katora's lying ass is like 34 years old.
She
He
is,
is
but
not
she's
29.
29 today because you're 29. So
And
we're
I was
both
like,
29.
I love this audible that she decides to call. Like, we're all 29. Look how fun. And
Yes,
then,
yes.
well, when do you turn 30? September.
September.
Ching,
Oh
ching,
my
ching.
gosh.
Well,
Both of us September.
all three of them are September. Like, what? Wow. What are the odds? And Kendra, the astrological girl, is like, this is amazing. You are literally my sun sisters. And I was like, I loved this from Katora. And Katora is another one that just jumped to me. This was a great episode for her. I feel extremely good about Katora. I just loved everything that we saw from her. And she is probably the person that shifted my opinion of her the most. We were all a little bit worried about our girl Katora, and she got out there and just absolutely killed it.
So Katura was someone that I liked from the jump, from even her interviews.
Mhm.
She's someone I picked in my draft assessment, my own personal one. And I like the fact that how easily she lied here. She's gonna lie easily a little bit later too, but it was just like a natural thing, and she's like a connecting agent. Let's
Mhm.
use this to
Right,
connect
and
with
it's
these
something
people.
so believable. I mean, she's 34, they're 29, like, you know, and she looks like she could be 29. This isn't Bowie Jane going in to be a whole decade younger when Bowie Jane could pass for a decade older, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So I love it, and I love that she basically called an audible in the moment. It was great.
Yep.
So, we do get to see those 3 connecting, then so let's go back to I mean, I don't think there's really much else to say about when Brando and Jake came back because it wasn't just a big sticking point for them. They just rolled with it.
Are we gonna talk about this tribe again later?
No, we're going to talk about everything with them now. So the
Okay.
next
So a little bit later on, they when
well,
the girls,
the 3
yeah.
girls are together again. Yep, and so go with it.
So the three girls are together, and the one, what's the one that's oldest with the sun sign?
Ken Kendra.
Kendra. So Kendra is, I usually get these people's name by the
Yeah,
end of the season. So Kendra is like, we should be looking at Jacob
Jake.
because he's a lawyer, and Katura's like, oh, he is a lawyer because I am not also a
Yeah.
lawyer at
And then
all.
the confessional that we get from Katora is probably my favorite moment from the episode, and she's like, "Oh, Lord, I am so glad that I had the foresight to not tell them that I'm a lawyer, but guess what? Little baby Jake back here that just passed the bar
Oh
and is
my
so
gosh.
excited to
Her,
tell everybody that he's the big bad lawyer from Boston. Well, good for you, dum dum."
her interview was top notch because
It was
she's like, good thing
very
I said I'm a
good.
little old clerk. I'm a little old clerk over here, but we got big old Jake. He a new lawyer, so that means he want to tell everybody he a lawyer. So,
Yeah. So you
and
go
so
for that. You go for
then
that,
we see
Jake.
her talking to him. So you a lawyer?
I've never
I'm a
been
district.
around a
I'm a
lawyer before.
yeah. And he's like, yeah, you man, us lawyer types, there's not a lot of us, but we are doing a thing. Oh, like, so what do you do? I'm a assistant district attorney. Oh yeah, assistant
Oh,
district
so
attorney.
what do you do with that exactly? I mean, just completely gaslighting him, and
Yeah.
I loved it. It was by far my favorite moment of the
Oh,
entire
young couture,
episode.
maybe you could be like me one day. Oh yes, Mr. Jake. Hopefully I
Yes.
could be.
Gosh, you're so amazing, and I was like, "This is so, so good." Um, absolutely loved Katora in the episode. She was a star.
Yeah.
All right. Let's go ahead and talk about the Red Tribe. Get them knocked out because we're going to spend the rest of the episode talking about the mess at
So
Lulu.
Sifu is, I don't, it's so weird because like Tony now was like a few years ago. So for you to be like wanting to be Tony and then running around like Tony and then for you not to understand that Tony is a specific person, and Tony is a very specific type of player, and often emulated, never duplicated. Tony Vlachos is a unique individual. So here you are out here running around, building spy checks, thinking you're being clever, not like hiding the fact that you're looking for stuff. Terrible.
So entertaining. He's another one. He was great, very entertaining. I think he is also very terrible, having a very terrible start. We will see how he is able to recover, but
being one of the strongest in the game, not just on his tribe, it makes it less likely he's going to go home. But is
less likely. But unfortunately for Sifu, they do have another very strong male on that tribe. So,
even still, I'm not concerned about him going home, but this is not win the game
not
material.
at this point. Not at this point.
Right. But this is not win the game material, Sifu. This is very similar to like how Ryan was, like Ox, workhorse, we're gonna go ahead and see you early merge, my guy.
Yeah, it was interesting. But to recap, so on the Red Reba tribe, we have Drew, the smartest person to ever play Survivor, according to him. We have Austin, who someone from our panel of talkers may be in love with Austin. I'm not going to name any names.
You, I'm assuming?
No. Sifu. And then our three women are Julie, the 40-year-old law student, now 49-year-old attorney, J Maya, and the other girl is D. So
J Maya is a professional singer, by the way.
Yeah, professional singer. So since you weren't here for the cast assessment, let us know your thoughts on some of these people.
Strong tribe.
Pre-game.
Strong tribe. Seeing Sifu, seeing Austin. I figured the tribe was going to be strong. Plus, they had the tallest guy out there, so I thought that this was going to be a strong tribe from the jump. I thought J Maya, I wasn't sure how she was going to be. Being a professional singer, I wasn't sure if this is like the thing for her. Because I don't feel like we see too many professional entertainers out here.
Yeah, so if you didn't read all of her background, she turned down Harvard Law to pursue a musical career.
Music, that's cool. The other singer that we've ever had out here is Taj George. And
she's like a legit singer. So
SWV. Shout out to them.
Sorry, J Maya. Not that you're not a legit singer, but you're not, touring legit singer.
But J Maya, I think feel like it'll come up, whereas SWV.
Yeah, no, and I mean, look, Kevin, I was in the minority in the cast assessment because I love J Maya.
Oh, good. And, I do too.
Sheldon doesn't. He's a hater.
Of course, Sheldon's usually a hater. That's not unsurprising. But SWV, Taj George, J Maya, right there. She could be them. So and then Julie, I like the fact that she's also a lawyer. We got like a bunch of like law people.
Yeah, look at all these little smarty pants.
Yeah, and then I like how she I like how she lied about her history.
Yeah, and so what was interesting about hers wasn't necessarily a lie. It was more of an omission because until she went through her basically midlife crisis where she decided to become an attorney, she did teach art out of her home. And so that is like what she did for, till she was 40 years old. And then just in the last, decade, she made a career shift. And so I think it's something, where Jake is going to get caught up, and because Jake also decided to tell a little bit of a lie because he wasn't going to completely admit what kind of law he practiced. And I'm like, oh, Katora as the secret lawyer is going to get you caught up. And so I think that, Jake is in trouble, but nobody is going to suspect it from Julie because she honestly knows how to talk about being an art teacher because she really did do that for a long time. So we did not get a lot from the Red Tribe, especially the women. Got very little from Julie, very little from J Maya, not much from D. We get that, she's kind of a little firecracker when she catches Sifu spying on them. But for the most part, we get Sifu and his antics, which once again, like I think it's fun. I like that it's kind of look, Tony flew. So we're going in reverse order here. Tony flew so that Danny last season could run so Sifu can crawl. So I feel like he's got a little bit of the Danny vibes to him from last season. But he was not stealth. He did get caught. Interactive.
Yeah. And I like how you said, if only I was actually spying on you guys, that would be crazy. And I'm like, come on, bro. But that's not going to really work here.
Like, are they going to let me get away with this? No.
Yeah.
And then the other part, so let's talk about Drew. He got the intro confessional where he says he's got two versions of himself. Drew is kind of what you see on the outside. He is the nerd. He's the one that gets stuffed into lockers, and he's very smart. He's, Ivy League. He's going to grad school, all the things that you expect. But then there's the Basile side of him. And Basile is, he can go to frat parties. What do you think about this kind of, I got two different sides of me here? How do you think this is going to work out for Drew?
It's just like saying that, he has a second identity. Have you ever had a friend that's like, her name is Laura, but she's cool, but Linda is when she gets drunk?
No, but that. I think we saw this with Maddie from Floribama Shore. And then the challenge where she had her whole split personality when she drank.
It's very similar. And so I know people like him, so I'm like, meh.
I thought it was interesting. I'm kind of neutral on Drew. We'll see what happens. But then the other person that we got a little bit more from is Austin. He is very strong. And we see him being like, Sifu, we've caught him out looking, and he's the only one that we've caught looking, but I'm looking too. Every time I go out for wood or bamboo, I am also looking. And we do see him find the beware advantage. So, Kevin, what do you think about this new version of the beware advantage? And just to give you a little hint as to who might be a big Austin fan, they're in the chat.
I love the fact that Austin goes, he's got wood, he's looking, sees it, throws everything down, grabs it, sneaks off, opens, it looks at it and says, beware advantage.
Yes.
I gotta do it. I don't know with the beware advantage. I don't know that I'm going to open the beware advantage if I see it. I think that I'm going to lead Sifu to it.
Yeah, I agree.
Because I don't want to open it.
Let's find something to bond y'all together, and then also something that you can throw him under the bus for later.
Correct. Because if I found it a beware advantage, I'd be like, oh, I don't want to lose my vote because that's the only way you can control anything in this game. But let me go put this back. Hey, Sifu, want to come get this wood with me? I saw some good wood over here by the shore.
Let's go pick some of that up. There?
Yeah. Hey, pick up something there's some by the tree. I'm gonna get these over here. You see him grab it.
Right.
Hey, did you find something?
We're in this together.
Yeah. I'll keep your secret. Open it. What is it?
Yeah.
Series of tasks. Oh my. Okay.
No vote until you complete the series of tasks. But that's not what our boy Austin decides to do. He decides to open it. And yes, he has a series of tasks that he has to complete. If it listed the other tasks, we did not get to hear them. But the first part of the task is he has a little strip of paper, and he has to use that to decode what is on the tribe flag. And so whenever we saw them get to the beach originally, they were like, ooh, there's this, foreign language on our flag. And we get to the mystery of that very, very quickly. And so I paused it whenever he was holding up the little bottom half strip, and he's going to be holding it up to the sign whenever it completes full words. That is what is going to be that task, and it's something about digging somewhere. And so but I couldn't read the rest of it because I needed the other half of the letters. But it is directions on where he is going to be digging. So can't wait to see it. I don't feel like this is going to be super hard to complete as a task, but this is fun. I like this.
Yeah,
What do you think about
I
it?
can't believe you already looked it up. Um, I just figured eventually, you'd eventually see it. But
And
yeah, I
there's
like the way.
probably somebody out there on Twitter that actually decoded the whole thing, but I didn't spend that much time on it, and I'm not
Yeah.
that smart.
Um, it was. I thought it was clever, and I like the fact that there's a series of things he has to do. Um, I mean, that was basically it. I loved it. I loved the having that be in there, and I hope everyone has something similar.
Yeah, it's going to be fun to see how it all plays out and what the rest of the tasks are. All right. Anything else about the Reba tribe before we move on to the real stars of the episode?
No, that was it.
Yeah, we didn't get much from them. Hopefully, we do get more in the next episode, but I think it's going to be hard. That is a really, really strong tribe, I think, and I don't know that I don't know that red or blue loses. Like Lulu is so terrible. I could see them going to every single one of the tribal councils pre-merge.
Mm-hmm.
No shit.
Mm-hmm.
So, time
Actually,
for
I don't. Because I think once you get down to three, I think the way it goes, and we'll talk about it deeper. But I think once you get down to three, and then it's three versus three, that's when they stop going.
yeah, maybe. Maybe. We'll see. All right, they are definitely the bad news bears, fitting for them to be yellow. So, um Lulu. Let's talk at the beginning. So we've already hit on Emily immediately casting doubt on like if they don't come back with something, I don't trust that. But we see the three of Emily, Hannah, and Sean on the beach, and they are going to start gathering supplies. There's not much they can do, and they're also looking at each other like, do y'all know how to build a shelter? Because I don't. I don't even know what to do. And we get this
Mm-hmm.
confessional from Sean, and he's like, they're at the Sweat versus Savvy challenge, but like, where are our building supplies? I'm like, baby, they is in the forest. Go get them. What are
You see
you
that bamboo right
talking
there?
about?
You see that bamboo right there? That's the base. You see that right over there, those palm fronds? Start weaving them. Because
Yeah.
Bruce ain't over here to tell y'all not to.
Yeah, and so at this point, Brandon is being seen by medical, but the three of them kind of start venturing out into the woods unaccompanied, but nobody gets lost. So that's a
I love
positive.
the fact that Emily is so off-putting that the three of them can't like come together as like a voting block immediately.
Yeah,
Because she immediately comes in like grating, and they're like, yeah, let's not make this alliance with the three of us because that's not something we want to
yeah,
do.
questionable.
Yeah.
But very quickly, we do see Brandon make his return. This is the probably one compliment I'm going to give to Brandon. I do like how he comes back in where he's like, I'm not dead. I think the
Yeah.
best way to diffuse a serious situation is by cracking a little joke.
Yeah.
So I like his little entrance back. It's kind of funny when they're like, how are you? Where are you from? And he's like, New Jersey. Terrible. You know what I mean? Like,
Mm-hmm.
I thought that was a good moment. And, maybe it is a little bit of a glimpse into who Brandon could be if he's able to
Oh,
move
I
past
think Brandon
all the
socially
others.
is good. I think Brandon physically is terrible.
Yeah, terrible
But
and
socially, I think he's good.
annoying to me. Okay. But very quickly, we do get Caleb and Sabaya returning from Sweat versus Savvy, and Emily is like, y'all didn't get anything? And before they're even off the boat, she's like, they took the advantage. I told y'all this was going to happen. They did it.
Mm-hmm.
It's so funny. It's great.
And then Sean is like, I
Yeah.
don't know if I like that.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
and
so,
and Sabaya and Caleb have an airtight story of exactly what happened.
yeah.
And there's like they're not fumbling over anything. It's either they work this out together or this is what happened.
Right. And I mean, Emily's given it the third degree. Like, oh, okay, so y'all beat them in the sweat part and you didn't get anything? Like, you didn't even get the flint or the machete or a pot? Nothing? They're like, no, we didn't.
I don't like Emily. I don't like Emily.
I love Emily as a casting choice. And I'm going to continue to say that.
Well, I mean,
I
there's
don't necessarily like Emily either, but I think she's so fun as a character.
but like the vibes are wrong.
They're terrible.
And like there's the both the vibes and the insinuation throughout Emily this entire time feel pointed. If you're following me.
No.
So there's 2 black people on this tribe.
Okay,
And
but
she
Kevin,
says,
let's not go there. Let's not do
listen.
that.
Let me tell you why, Kylie. Because I know you could hate it all you want. Let me tell you why, though, it feels pointed. Is because the first challenge, they work out who to work together, right? In the first on the boat. They then have people volunteer, and the 2 of them volunteer, as we've already discussed. When she's talking about the 2 of them, she talks about how they obviously have an alliance together. We've been here for 7 hours. She says they obviously have an alliance.
At the point where she says they obviously have an alliance, they are on day 3.
Is it 3 days or is it 2 days?
3 days.
I'm not really sure.
They competed in the immunity challenge on day 3. And
so,
and to interject before you go on your whole diatribe here, in Hannah's exit press, she says that Caleb and Sabaya were an obvious duo. They were together, and they weren't hiding it.
Get there, but where Emily's at though, like from the moment that like it's very similar to and we were watching Big Brother, right? We cover Big Brother on this channel. It's very similar to how like Heisem was like put with that group of the professors. I feel like Emily off the bat has put them together.
Okay, but I mean, I am all for calling out shitty behavior when it needs to be called out. And as the season progresses, maybe it gets to that point. But what I'm saying is, I do not think that Emily is pointing them out as an obvious duo because they are black. I think she is pointing them out as an obvious. Okay, and I mean, I can't argue with your feelings on that. I can't.
And that's one of my takes from her, especially because she doesn't do well reading the room, if you will, because she like says this about them being a pair when they come back and have the quote unquote wrong story.
No. She says this about them being a pair when they're talking about who to vote off.
But she talks about them taking the advantage or whatever. But what I'm saying is that when she talks about them taking the advantage, she says this, and immediately Sean is like, "Hey, you two, just so y'all know." She thinks y'all have an advantage because, like I said, she's bad at reading the room. The rest of them are not on board with them having this advantage story,
right?
Immediately,
right?
And it's the drum she's beating.
But here is my take on it: is I think, and this is also going back to her pregame press where they were all asked, "Would you go on a journey?" And she, even in her pregame press, says, "No, I would not go on a journey, and I'm going to be skeptical of anyone that volunteers for it." And she says it pregame. So I think
somebody's got to go.
Okay, that's fine. But she says, I'm going to be skeptical of anybody that volunteers. Like, I think that it should be systematically decided by us drawing a rock or a stick or whatever. If you volunteer, then I think that I'm going to be skeptical of you. So I think this is an unfortunate lining up of these are the two black castaways on their tribe. And like I said, if Emily turns out to be a shitty person and it
We'll
is
find out later.
obvious that she has some biases, then
Yeah, we'll
let's
find
call
out
them
later.
out. But I think from a 6-minute clip of her, I think
Yeah.
I think it's not fair to her.
One thing I don't think she's good at reading the room though, because
She's terrible at reading the room.
the the fact that Sean immediately is like, yeah, no, you guys, just so y'all know, she thinks that y'all got an advantage.
Yeah.
We
I
don't
I
think you
think
have an
Sean
advantage.
played really, really well because I liked Sean from his pregame, but I was very worried for him because he is very, very, very small of stature. And this season, they are aware of how the past few seasons have gone with lots of women going pre-merge. And so I was like, I'm worried for him. I'm worried for our little 90-pound man here. I
Yeah.
think that he could be in big trouble. And so I like that he grasped onto something quickly because if Caleb and Sabaya are kind of naturally stepping up into this leadership role and they're obviously the strength of the tribe physically, I like that Sean is like, I'm going to get in good with him. Let
Yeah, I
me
mean
just go on
Brandon
him.
does too, because as we're gonna talk
Yeah.
about a little bit later, but when Emily's like, we should be looking at splitting those two up,
Yeah.
Brandon's like, yeah, no, I'm gonna
Yeah.
go ahead and try to work with the two of them because
Yeah.
that seems like the better move for us right
Yeah.
now.
And so, but I especially love it from Sean. It's extremely natural and just, well, I mean, actually, it wasn't natural. He snitched, but he didn't like work it into a conversation. He like found Sabaya and ratted
Yeah.
Emily out. But I like the proactiveness of it. But all right, let's see what else we've got to say. We are quickly seeing a bond forming between Brandon and Hannah.
Yeah.
And Hannah is a therapist. She is comforting to Brandon. And she is also expressing some of her struggles to Brandon, where she's like, and we talked about this in the cast assessment that Hannah said she failed at intermittent fasting because she's a hungry bitch. And I think it proved to be true. She is, in fact, a hungry bitch. And so she's like, I am tired of being wet. Like my socks are wet. I don't like this. I need a cigarette. I'm hungry. I want to just lay down. I don't want to do any more work. And she's in tears.
Well, I
And
think I thought it was funny because like it's I'm a big Brother person, and this season Sari from Survivor is on Big Brother for those that don't
Mhm.
know, and she's talking to another player earlier in the season, and she's like, "Yeah, I hate it here," and the other player's like, "You hate it, but like you love it," and she's like, "Yeah, no, I like legitimately hate it,"
This is
and
her
that's
tone.
exactly the vibe I was getting from Hannah because Brandon's like, I mean, it
Yeah,
sucks,
like I'm
but we're
miserable too, but
here.
I'm having so much fun.
And she's like, yeah, nah, it just sucks. Like this
Yeah,
just
not fun, not fun. I don't want to be here.
yeah.
Um, but Hannah starts crying and getting emotional. So of course, Brandon is going to cry too because that's what Brandon does. He cries.
Uh-huh.
Um, and so this is also the point where we see Sabaya talking once again like nobody's really stepping up here, and so like I'm just kind of giving some directions about like, hey, we don't have a machete, but let's kind of make like a impromptu lean-to basically to just give us a little bit of protection from the elements. And Emily's like, Debbie Downer here. um this isn't gonna work because the ground's not level and the sticks aren't the same size. Do with that what you will.
Yeah.
But that's the facts. This isn't gonna work.
So what should we do instead, Emily?
I said to do that with what you will.
She sucks, man. She sucks.
Yeah, she's
She sucks.
she's an interesting one. Um, all right. But time for the immunity challenge. And
Brandon fails again, man. Brandon sucks at these challenges.
all right. Let's talk quickly about the challenge setup. It is a multiple stage, as they so often like to do here, where they have the physical part that everyone has to get through, and then ending with the puzzle. First part of the challenge, they have to go up this little ramp under a little jungle gym. Shady as fuck for them to do that to Bruce from the get go. I'm like, was it necessary to put that over them on the ramp up?
I just love the fact that Bruce said, "Keep your head down." I'm like, yes,
No,
that's you.
Jeff
You
said
learn.
it. Jeff was like, "Watch your heads." I was like, "Thanks, Jeff."
Yeah.
Um, and so they have to do that, slide down the other side into the mud, crawl through the mud. Once they're all there, drag the coconuts, unload them, shoot them into the basket. Once their puzzle pieces drop, climb the big wall, complete the puzzle. All right. Do you have any hope for Lulu before this started?
Yeah, man. They had
I didn't. I was like,
Sabaya.
this isn't gonna work.
They had Sabaya and Caleb
Caleb.
try to catch him up with the shots.
No. I
Uh,
said no before the immunity challenge starts at all. Are
oh,
you thinking
before it
Lulu
started,
has a chance?
I figured Lulu would be the losers, but I figured Blue had a chance to be losers too because I didn't think they were that good at stuff.
Yeah.
I had no fear about Red. I figured Red was gonna win regardless.
Yeah. So as this is getting started, we see the red and the blue tribes when they are coming down off of that first little apparatus that they all slide in feet first into the mud. Not our bad news bears Lulu tribe. Every last one of the motherfuckers slid
Head first, baby. Head
face
first.
first. And I was like,
That's how you get in that
and I
mud, baby.
know
You
that
go
they
head
can't
first.
see I know that they can't see what's happening on the other side, but you would just think one of the 6 logically would have said, "I'm not going face first."
You ain't doing it right if you ain't getting dirty, Jeff said. So we out here getting dirty.
They did. They got dirty. They quickly fall behind, but all 3 tribes do end up on the shooting
Well, it's funny
coconut.
because they fall behind because Sabaya's kind of slow through the mud.
Mhm. Yeah, no, Sabaya's slow, Emily is slow, Brandon is slow. I think the other 3 did fine.
Yeah.
But they all 3 end up shooting coconuts at the same time. Once again, red and blue do finish that first, but then they're not that far behind. All 3 tribes are working on the wall and scaling this wall, and it is interesting, and it's probably been done in the other seasons too, but I just didn't notice it as much. They are having to climb up this wall covered in mud. And is that usually in that order?
Yeah. They have the wall. They have the wall after because the wall goes to a platform to do a puzzle. So if
Yeah. But
there
I
is
didn't know if
mud,
they usually have that with the mud challenge.
yeah, they do. They do.
Okay.
But in this one, we see Caleb when Lulu goes, Caleb goes first, and then he leans over and tries to help people up.
Yeah.
And then you notice that Caleb goes last, which
Mhm.
means Caleb
You had to
went
go
up there, got everybody up, and then had to go back down because our boy Brandon is having a rough time getting up this wall because this is not really a part of his skill set. Now, I
Yeah.
don't know why they didn't do like the human ladder thing.
Yeah. What I love though is Brandon Brandon falls so hard and he honestly looks like he's dead
I
on
thought
the
he
ground.
died.
And
I thought he died.
Jeff is like, "You wanted Survivor, dig through it." I was like, this man has no stopping him. So yeah, he just drives that dagger in.
Oh
They
no, he doesn't. He doesn't even drive it in yet because it takes yellow forever to get up the wall. Red and blue are building the Survivor logo puzzle. By the
Yeah.
time they do it, by the time yellow finally gets up there,
He's like, "It
creatively
would take a
using the buff,
miracle."
yeah, and he says, "There's yellow's getting started, but it's only for morale. There's no point. There's no because red and blue are neck and neck building the puzzle,
Yeah, they got
and when
like
they
4
get up
pieces
there,
left.
they have like 4 pieces left each, and it's build done." He said, "It doesn't even matter once yellow gets started."
But
dang.
so I mean, it's just the perfect depiction of them because Sabaya almost gets up the wall and she falls and like knocks everybody below her over. And I'm like, they are just a walking disaster. And no shade on Sabaya because she's tired. She's done the heavy lifting. So no shade on her because she's a badass. No shade on Caleb. Caleb, once he finally gets back up, very, very innovative to use the buffs. That was really smart.
Yeah.
But when Caleb finally gets up there, there's this shot of him with like his face hanging off the top of the wall. And he is completely exhausted. Just
Wiped.
he's done. And I think he's done with these motherfuckers too. Like he is wondering who he pissed off in casting to have been
How did I
stuck on
get
this
here?
ride.
How did I get here? That's exactly it. And then so they ultimately lose the challenge. They still don't have their supplies. They still don't have Flint.
Mhm.
And they're going to tribal council tonight.
Yeah. Back to the beach. And we immediately get this confessional from Hannah where she's like, I'm glad we lost. And I'm just hoping that maybe I can go home because I don't
Yeah.
want to be here. And I was like, she's JKing. Like, she didn't really feel that way.
Oh, you thought she was joking?
Yeah, I was like,
I
she's
did not.
playing it up because this is like, Brandon is bitching. We've got Debbie Downer, Emily.
Oh,
This
I
is
knew it
the
was a
vibe
rap
of
for
the tribe.
her. I knew it was a rap for her the moment she tells Brandon, how great would a bed be right now? Like,
Nicotine.
some nicotine. Like when she said that, I was like, oh, she a smoker. This is a rap for her. She's not Shane Powers just trying to tough through this. It's not gonna work.
Yeah. But when she does tell Brandon, like, I'm trying to figure out how to get everybody to write my name down. He's like, no, you're fine. You are strong. You can push through this. And we see her rally. And I was like, okay, she's not leaving.
Oh, you felt like she was rallying? I did not. I felt like she was like, yeah, but no. Like I feel like that's how
No, I thought she was rallying because then we do see her strategizing with different groups of people.
Think back because you watched it twice, right? You watched the episode twice.
Mm-hmm.
She doesn't strategize. She listens.
Well, no,
doesn't have.
she has an active conversation with Sean and Caleb about if they should vote Brandon.
Because Brandon's like, I suck.
Yeah. We're gonna get back to him. But first, let's talk about the hidden nugget that we learned from the On Fire podcast, and that is that the winning tribe, which was the Bellow Blue tribe, that they got to send one person to their beach to observe and interact with them. And not just that, this person would get to secretly cast a vote at tribal council that they don't know about. So
Apparently couldn't make 90-minute episode, but
yeah, but
whatever.
couldn't make it into the episode. So yep, there's that. So we are seeing that quickly. Emily, she's got to go. Like, she's a nice girl, but let's just vote her off.
Morale's down, way down.
Right. So let's just get
Brandon
rid of
may
her.
have sucked physically, but Emily sucks like as a person over here.
Right. And so, but then we get old snowflake Brandon over here, and he's like,
I'm playing my shot in the dark.
No, he's like, I'm having this chest pain.
Yeah, right here in the chest. And I've been having it for like the last 20 hours. I've been like,
I think I'm having a heart attack.
I don't know what it is, but
and I know that
okay.
I know I'm doing terrible, and I'm crying, and it hurts so bad.
I take medicine at home, but I don't have the medicine out here, so
yeah. And so he's like, I'm gonna play my shot in the dark, and he walks off, and Sabai and Caleb are like, WTF are these people? You have to feel so bad for these two.
I think they realize that Sean is the only normal one out there.
Right.
And they're like, the three of us just need to stick together, I guess.
Yeah. So they're like, well, do we just vote Brandon and let him be plan A, and we can just let Emily be plan B? Because, like if he doesn't even trust us and like he thinks that we're going to vote him out anyways, and he's a liability, like, oh my gosh, maybe we just, to use a challenge term, trim the fat. and let's
Yeah.
just get rid of our worst competitor, and
We could deal with the Emily problem
we'll deal,
later.
yeah, we'll deal with Emily later. And I'm like, okay, well, how is this going? This is interesting. And this is where we get Emily talking with Hannah and Brandon. And she says, those two, they are a duo, and we need to split them up now. And I mean, look, in a different world where you are in good standing, like let's say this happens on the Blue Tribe and you've got the three girls together and they've been bonding and they lose and they're like, you know what? Let's just take a shot at one of the guys. Like, we may lose every single immunity challenge for the rest of the time, but if we vote one of them off, we are now the
It's
majority.
wild though, right? Because and
Yeah,
the
it's
reason it's
wild.
wild.
I'm saying the only, like, I don't 100% hate her thought process, except you don't have the social capital with
That's
these
not even it.
people.
That's not even it, Kylie. The reason this is a terrible plan, and the only reason this is a terrible plan, is because if you lose, you don't get your Flint. So we need to incentivize winning, so that way we have Flint. Like that's the biggest part of what the of what the
That's a
season of.
good point. That's a good
That's
point
the
because
biggest part
they
of
don't
what.
have
Yes,
they don't
and
have
the
fire.
biggest.
But you know what? You can live without food to the merge because the merge is only like 11 days.
But the hard part is in this new era. This is the biggest problem with the new era. And I'm not, I am a feminist over here, but the biggest problem with the new era is that because Jeff takes your thing from if you lose, he takes your Flint if you lose, you have to stay strong. So
Mhm.
getting rid of the women or the weaker people is incentivized because we don't have Flint otherwise. So
Mhm.
that's why Emily's plan is a terrible plan, because she
Yeah.
wants to go for Caleb. We already don't have food. We already don't have fire. We already don't have supplies. We will keep losing and we will keep being hungry over here and cold and whatever, because we don't have any of these things already.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so
No, that is a really, really good point. But like I said, I don't necessarily hate it in a okay, if the three of us are actually a tight
like I said,
group,
once again, Kylie, I
go for
love the
it.
plan. I love the plan if we have Flint.
If we have Flint and if these people actually like me, which neither
Yeah, of course.
is
No,
the
the social
case.
capital part, and I'm not taking that away from you. You're right. The social capital part is right. I'm saying that the plan in general is a bad plan because of not because of who it is, but because of how the game is manufactured today with Jeff taking your Flint. That's the only
Yeah.
reason. But yes, you're right. Emily can't do this.
Yeah. Yeah, but this could be a really interesting thing that we could possibly see given what, your point. Like, let's say, 2 rounds from now, we get the Blue Tribe losing.
Yeah.
And 2 of these women in their pregame do say, and we get it from Kendra in a confessional during the episode about women leaving the game early. And I think we could see it where they're going to take a shot at one of the guys, especially if
Yep.
they know it is getting close to Mergatory.
Well,
Where
also
they're like,
especially if they know that they how to make fire, or they have a fire that's already going.
yeah, like,
Yeah.
mm, if we lose again, it
Correct.
doesn't matter. We're the majority. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm interested to see that possibly happen. But after Emily pitches this, Brandon immediately snitches to Caleb, and Caleb is like, has this confessional before they go to tribal council. And he's like, we are the Lulu losers.
he's like, we suck, and you want to get rid of me, and I'm doing everything I can for us to like kind of not suck.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
how, Sway?
Okay.
How?
All right. Well, so time for tribal council, and they get there, and Jeff's first opening line is, what is this already telling you about like who you are as a person? And Emily is like, yeah, I am a more intense version of myself. I'm more aggressive. I'm more streamlined. I'm more of a downer than normal. And Hannah is like, I'm a wreck. Like, I'm crying every 30 minutes. I'm a whole mess and I don't really want to be here. And Emily is like, okay, you table that for a minute because I'm going to call out Sabaya and Kayla real quick. Jeff, these two back here, they're in an alliance together and this is a problem. And
And they're
Sabaya's like,
how are we catching
oh,
strays? We just chilling. Like, we just chilling back here. How are we
yeah,
catching
Sabaya
strays back
is
here?
like, well, y'all are the ones that kind of threw us into this role. We didn't ask for it.
Yeah.
And Sabaya is just, she's pretty smooth. I like how she handles it. And then,
Hannah's like, no, over here. Hi. There's 5 of you that want to be here. There's one of us that doesn't want to be here. That's me.
Yeah, Emily's like, Hannah, hold that thought. I got one more thing to say. You know what? There's someone here that has struggled since day one. And Hannah's like, me? She's like, no, Brandon. He sucks too. And I'm just like, this girl has called out 3 of the 6 people on her tribe.
Yeah.
And it's not the girl that wants to quit.
And she's shutting down the girl that wants to leave. Like, that is
and she's one of them. So the only person she doesn't take any issue with is Sean. So good for
Sean,
him.
you're great.
Yeah.
You're great.
Keep doing what you're doing.
You 3, though, I have problems with. And no, honey, hold on. I know you want to leave. Give me a second. You 3 I have problems with, and let me tell you why.
It is a train wreck, and you can't look away from it. I love it. And Hannah is like, back to me. Look, all 5 of them want to be here, and like while they're over here talking, I'm thinking about eating.
And the whole time I've been thinking about food, like this entire time.
Yeah,
and
I don't want to go back to camp. I want to sleep in a bed.
Not Kylie. I don't want to go back to camp. Every fiber of my being says that I'm not going back to camp.
Yeah, and I don't need y'all to vote me out to leave.
Yeah,
I can just go.
Yeah, I don't have to leave by being voted out.
Emily's like, oh, shit, am I not going to get voted out? This girl's going to quit? And Emily is like, I'll vote her out.
Yeah.
Finally.
Well, my favorite, though, is Sabaya's like, but for the tribe, it may make more sense for you to tough it out for a couple more days.
Yeah. Like, and then we can vote you out next after we vote out Emily.
Yeah, exactly. I got a problem right in front of me.
Hannah's like, no, you're going to lose 2 people. That's your choice. And honestly, look, so let's talk about it. Because if I am out there.
Before we do, because I loved that Sabaya says that, and then that's when Emily says, or Hannah says, I don't have to be voted out. Because then that's when it's like, oh, you're for real.
Yeah.
Because you're saying you're complaining, and we get it, but we want to get rid of this girl first. And then we can get rid of you next. Oh, no, you're not staying at all.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. Okay. And look, so let's talk about it. If Sabaya, because she's the more vocal one that we hear a little bit at Tribal Council, but even if it had been anybody, if anybody had been like, no, I'm not going to vote for Hannah. I'm not okay with her just quitting. If she wants to quit, she can quit, but we're going to vote. Do you think that they would Jeff have let them go through with the vote? Or do you think that, so you think we would have lost 2 people? That would have been so wild. Like,
and they didn't do the math, but losing 2 people is probably for the best. Because you still take care of Emily.
They should have been like, hey, wait, can you just take Brandon with you too?
Yeah, like, I mean, because losing those 2. And 3. The hard part, though, is this is the only hard part, Kylie. We don't have a shelter. So, like, losing that extra labor, hands, manpower.
You were going to say body heat as they're laying on the beach.
No, it makes it hard to, like, build that shelter when we finally do get our supplies. But if we have a shelter, getting rid of 2 people is fine, because in the comp, it's going to only be 4 anyway. And Emily wasn't like a standout.
But Brandon can't be one of them.
But Emily's not a standout anyway.
I thought Emily held her own. I mean, she was the one that.
Fine.
I think she was better than fine. She's
She was better than Brandon,
she's heads and tails better than Brandon. And I
but she's
mean,
number 4.
I don't know if she's necessarily number 4 because she's the one that almost got the flint off of the little loop-de-loop,
But it
and
was her and Hannah together.
she was the one putting together the puzzle pieces. So, I mean, I don't think that we can get there yet. But yeah, she's saved by this because Hannah is like, "Yep, I want to leave." Everybody agrees. Sabaya once again, like there's this moment which she's not looking directly into a camera, like having an office moment, but she's like, yeah, I'll vote for Hannah to leave. And then like she looks straight forward and all of the light leaves her eyes. She does not want to do this at
No, not
all.
at all. Not at all. And I don't want this woman in front of me still here.
But that's where it gets interesting. So going back to the little twist that we didn't get to see play out, we find out that Kendra cast her vote for Brandon, which I think is really, really interesting. And let's get into it. Because if you are looking at this from the blue and or red aspect, you want them to keep Brandon. Like, we want this guy that, can't physically pull himself up to have to compete. And
Yeah,
so
but here's the thing though. There's no swaps in this new era, right? So when
maybe
Kendra's over there, I assume she spoke to someone. And so my assumption is that she spoke to someone like Sabaya. And so if she spoke to Sabaya, she's trying to garner a good relationship with these other people from other tribes. So I think that Sabaya's like, hey, we're thinking about voting out Brandon, but we're thinking between Brandon and Emily. Not really sure.
mm-hmm.
If you throw this vote on Brandon, this will help us in terms of whichever way we go. Because remember, Brandon's plan A and Emily's plan B.
Yeah.
So if she says, hey, this is plan A, they're going to focus on plan A.
Yeah. And there's also the possibility of like, hey, this guy's not getting voted off. They're going to vote off Emily. I'm going to cause a little bit of chaos because they don't know that this vote is being cast. And so if Brandon sees his name pop up, that's going to create some distrust. So I just thought it was really interesting to have that little nugget. And when Hannah did her exit press, she said that she personally was going to vote Emily out because she obviously wasn't going to vote Brandon, but she does not know if Emily was going to be the one that left. And so I was like, that's really interesting because I thought it was, like we're throwing in this.
Deal.
Yeah, I think, we're throwing in this Brandon tidbit as, the red herring, but like Emily's tanked because she's Emily. So I think it's interesting. We'll never know. And, like I kind of feel like the last time somebody was like a dead man walking and something happened that he ended up not getting voted out of the very first tribal council, he went on to win. Nick Wilson. So will Emily just kidding.
It's interesting because Brandon wants this so much.
Yeah.
But he's just so bad at this physically.
Yeah. No. I was meaning, is Emily the next Nick Wilson?
No, I hope
and
not.
is she gonna win the game? And then I said, I can't even say that with a straight face. But we see Hannah quit. Jeff snuffs her torch, and she does get this really great line as she's leaving. She's like, if this is the edge of extinction, I'm not going.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, overall, I feel disappointed in the premiere, but there's nothing.
Oh, you do?
There's nothing that Survivor could have done. It's just disappointing for the episode to end in a quit. But there's nothing that they can do that this girl decides to quit. So, it's just how it goes. But it is disappointing when you know that there are so many people that apply and don't get the opportunity, which that sucks. But you want to know who I really feel for? Whoever that alternate woman was that was sitting in Fiji in a hotel. I feel bad for her.
Yeah. I mean, I don't feel bad. I don't at all actually. You don't know how hard it is to get there, and then once she's out there, she is a smoker. She
Yeah,
nicotine
no,
is a,
and I mean, it's just not for some people.
yeah, and like you and like a lot of people are like killing her online about it.
Yeah,
But like if you
yeah, and
thought
they're, like, trashing her, like,
business
therapy
and
business.
stuff,
Come on,
but
don't
like
be that person.
if you thought it was for you and then you got out there, you're like, nah, you don't know until you go do it,
Right,
right? Like
and
you don't know.
here's the thing that I will give her is at least the 5 people that want to be there are still there.
Yeah.
So,
Well, I
you know,
also love the fact that she didn't like drag it out like Shamar,
yeah,
right? Like it was like a very immediate,
n
yeah,
not for
no,
me, dog.
yeah, not for me, dog. And it was immediate that she figured that out. I love that because if you go 3 episodes, Emily goes home, Brandon goes home, then now you're like, yeah, I gave this a real college try, not into it.
Yeah,
It's like you could have
yeah.
left. I
Then
could have still been there.
then there's gonna be a lot of outrage, I think,
Yeah, but like I
but
figured this out immediately, and then I told Brandon like immediately, yeah, not for me, I don't think. And he's like, no, 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 but we love this thing. And then like a couple days later, he's like, yeah,
we're going
still
to
not
travel
for me. I
cancel.
gave it
Let's
two, two
this is a
days.
this is the place for me to make an exit. So, I
Yeah,
can appreciate it from that standpoint. And I'm not like mad, but I mean, it's disappointing for lots of people. And I'm sure it's disappointing for the casting team. Like,
yeah.
they cast Hannah because they saw something in her, and that sucks all around. So
And that's why I don't feel bad for that alternate either, because apparently they didn't see enough in her to put her on instead of Hannah. So like
this is true.
Hannah had something that was popping, and they liked her. And, and you see it, right? She's funny. She's out there. Even in
Yeah.
her leaving, she tells Brandon, I'm kind of thinking about sleeping in a bed tonight.
Yeah.
I'm like, and he's
Not
like,
not for me, Edge of Extinction. See ya.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Um
I see what they saw in her. She just didn't know this wasn't for her until she got out there and was
Yeah.
like, yeah, no, man, I like the inside.
Yeah. So we are still left with the dysfunction of you've got Brandon, who is the challenge liability. You've got Emily, who is a thorny rose, to say the least. And that is what they are going into the next challenge with, somebody that makes the tribe not kumbaya and somebody that cannot perform in challenges. So I feel very worried that we are going to see Lulu back again at Tribal Council next week.
Yellow will be back.
Think it's pretty assured that they're going to be there. But as a whole, I need to know what's your vibe? How you feeling about the season as a whole?
So far so good. There's some people
Potential.
that I really like. I like Sabaya. I like Caleb. I like Katura a lot. I like Austin. Um, there's people I don't like that much. I don't like seafood that much. I really don't like Emily. Um, yeah,
Um, I am the probably my 2 favorites coming in were Kelly and Jemiah, and we got almost nothing really from either one of them. So I'm excited to see. I just want to get to know the people of red and blue a little bit better. I thought that Caleb was so subdued because, he had also a lot of mentions in the pregame press of somebody that was, like always dancing and kind of like, getting the limelight put on him. And a lot of people were not necessarily feeling great about Caleb coming in. And then he gets out there and he's just, a delight. We didn't get much from him, but you don't even get that sense from him. So
hmm
I'm hoping that, we can see a little more of his personality when maybe he's not so stressed because poor baby went through some things in the
yep,
first 3 days. So
yep.
yeah, I'm interested to see what happens and
I hope with
always
these 90-minute
hopeful.
episodes we see all the tribes next week. Like let's see a
Yeah.
little bit more from the other tribes.
Right. I'm really ready to get to know red and blue and, a lot of these people that we just don't even know anything about. So,
hmm
because like I said, I was really, really worried for Katora coming in. I think she's great just from the little bit we got of Blue, I think that there's a great chance Katora could be the winner. And so, I'm excited to see if there's other people out there that, opinions can shift on from what I thought about in pregame, good or bad. Let's see what happens. So, I thought it was a fun episode for the most part. I'll give it like a B-.
I'd give it a solid B.
For things out of their control. They can't help that she quit, but it is what it is. So, it is what it is. All right. Well, anything else to say about this episode of Survivor?
Nope. Excited for next week.
Yeah. Excited to see what happens. I always love a new season of Survivor. And we are still in the midst of all of our Big Brother coverage. And me and Kevin do not know what happens. So nobody spoil us because we were talking during the resurrection competition. So I'm excited to see if Jared or Cameron has re-entered the house. And Kevin may know because he may have looked at spoilers. I don't want to know. But we will be back live tomorrow to talk about this episode of Big Brother that has just finished airing, and we will talk about who has re-entered the house and probably talk a little bit about some spoiler HOH results, hopefully. Kevin, anything else to add?
Nope. Thank y'all for joining us. We'll be back every Thursday to talk about Survivor, and join us on Mondays and Fridays to talk about Big Brother.
All right. We will see all of you next time. Bye, y'all.